goes on the weekend, so we're able to prepare for the media day that we're about to experience together.
Yeah, we're going to be down there Monday, flying in. Me and my wife are going to go tackle this media week, at least on a one-day situation. And, of course, everything makes good for solid storylines, truthful, honest reporting, journalism, not just hot takes, not just because it sounds good, but because it's accurate and it's timely and it's actually relevant. Speaking of relevant, in 2018, Jimmy Garoppolo, who basically was contacted by Patrick Mahomes because of that hit by Steven Nelson. At the time, Steven Nelson played for the Kansas City Chiefs. And, of course, forced Garoppolo to tear his ACL, missed the entire season. He was contacted by Patrick Mahomes. Now, he's facing off against Patrick Mahomes, but this shows you who Patrick Mahomes is. He contacted him. Jimmy Garoppolo's quote is saying, for him to come out of his way after the game and wish me luck and everything, he's a real class act. For him to do something as simple as that, it went a long way. I think it did. I really do. And I don't just necessarily mean talking on a football level. I'm talking about on a personal level. Because when you can connect with someone, because you've been there, done that, you know, and make no mistake, earlier in the season, Patrick Mahomes dislocated his knee when Andy Reid ran a sneak-a-doo trying to get into the end zone against the Eagles. Now, I don't like that call. I never did, but that's in the past, and it is what it is. But I'm more than confident that Garoppolo may have made a very similar phone call to Patrick Mahomes saying, you know what, I hope you're okay. I hope you're good. And again, it's one of those questions that I'll be sure to ask Jimmy G at Media Day. But the bottom line to this is that Garoppolo went through an entire rehab season. ACL is not something you just immediately come back from. It takes time. It takes fortitude. It takes a certain level of mental stability in order to fight your way through, in order to get back to where you want to be, where you need to be, where you think you're going to be that effective. And I think Garoppolo, for week one in this season, the 49ers went 13-3. Garoppolo started all the games, completed almost 70% of his passes for almost 4,000 yards, 27 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, and a quarterback rating of 102, which is actually extremely good. Now, don't forget, if anybody doesn't know this, and you should, Jimmy Garoppolo was a backup to Tom Brady and has 2 rings to show for it. Didn't play, but he has 2 rings to show for it. Now he had the opportunity to rehab, and I think he put a little extra mustard on the hot dog in order to get back on this thing and do what he's been doing all season long. But what's really interesting is that Garoppolo, during that Packers game, you didn't see a ton of passes. I mean, he had maybe a handful of passes the entire game. He's going to have to do that this game. Who are your key factors in this matchup? Who's going to catch the ball and who's going to catch a game winner for the 49ers?
Well, actually, you mentioned them. I'll go back to your Pittsburgh Steelers. I think Emmanuel Sanders will play a bigger role than most people think. And the fact that he is a hidden gem, to me, is important. Now, when you talk about the fact that Garoppolo was out last year, don't forget that because the 49ers had a tough year, they were able to draft a guy by the name of Nick Bosa. So he went ahead and bolstered their defense considerably. And as we both know, defense wins championships, right? Isn't that the rule? So
that's what they say.
Emmanuel Sanders to me is the X factor. I really do. I think that, you know, they're not going to get away with 8 to 12 passes this game. They're just not going to do it. I think that that when you talk about what you do from game to game, full well the NFL's all about adjustments, right? So they'll be looking at the film with the 49ers and the Packers and vice versa. And as a result, this is what you don't know what's going to be throwing at you. So, but to answer your question, Rudy, Emmanuel Sanders, I think, will be the key for the 49ers. I expect them to have a really, really, really good game.
I think it's going to be a great game. I honestly do. I think the Kansas City Chiefs, who haven't been to the Super Bowl since 1970 when they defeated the Vikings, is looking to do something different. And I know Andy Reid was always knocking on the doorstep, and I recall the interview between Coach Cowher sitting down with Andy Reid, asking him, how do you do this? How do you stay with this so long? And of course, he can ask himself that question. Hall of Famer Coach Bill Cowher, congratulations to him on getting in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But I think more importantly, it's about It's about Andy Reid as an individual. Everybody wants to talk about how he didn't take the Eagles to this and he didn't do that and this, that, and the other. That's since passed. We can't have that conversation anymore. Why? Because he did it. He finally is going to the big game, the biggest game in sports, at least from what we know in sports. But I think the Chiefs have a lot of resolve. I think Patrick Mahomes brings a lot of that resolve, especially when you think about what he's done all season long with Travis Kelce, getting it to Tyreek Hill, getting it to all these different, every single weapon. It's like every guy had a touch. And one of those things that Patrick Mahomes does is he improvises so well. Left-handed, right-handed, sneaking in for a touchdown. We've seen what he did against the Tennessee Titans, walking the tightrope to get in the end zone for a touchdown. He has a certain resolve to him. Of course, a lot of questions I have for him at Media Day in Miami. But I think more importantly, it's about the fact that he is multifaceted in regards to being an athlete. And it's not just stick to football. Don't forget, this guy can drop dimes in basketball too. And he's very good at baseball. Of course, his dad was a multi-sport athlete and played in the major leagues for some time. But I think it's about him. It's about his resolve. And I think somehow this is going to be a lot closer of a game. Of course, the odds of this game, if those that don't know this or haven't seen the line on this game, I'm not a betting guy. I'm fortunate to wake up the very next day. And I don't do any betting. I don't flip a coin or roll a die or anything. But but I think because this team is, these guys are so well manicured and they look very similar to one another in different ways, both offensively and defensively. This game opened up at a negative 1.5 for odds. Really? Yeah, it did. Wow. And interestingly enough, I don't know if I'm going to follow that line. I think it's going to be closer than people expect, but I don't think it's going to be that slim of a margin. And I'm going to go ahead and pick right now ahead because there won't be a podcast between now and the Super Bowl. So I'm going to call out who my picks are in regards to who the red zone threat's going to be for the Kansas City Chiefs. It's going to be Travis Kelce. Bottom line, whether or not he'll catch the game winner, that's another story. And I have to agree with you on the Emmanuel Sanders catch. I think that's going to be a real game clincher as well. He's going to play a bigger role. He's going to be in red zone. He could be put in the slant. Emmanuel Sanders is one of those guys who's just been waiting for another opportunity to get back to the big game because he had an opportunity with the Steelers. Broncos haven't been very good for some time now. Of course, there's a lot of mitigating circumstances surrounding why they've made a lot of changes in the Broncos organization to get some better playmaking minds in there to do a lot more with Drew Lock, quarterback coach, offensive coordinator, and the like. But I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to pick the 49ers to win this game, and it's going to be off the toe of Robbie Gould, and that will be a golden kick through the uprights for the game winner. I'm going to say 23-20 is going to be the final with the 49ers winning their 6th Super Bowl to rank right up there with the Pittsburgh Steelers and the New England Patriots. Who's your pick? Who are you going for on this?
Just an FYI, while I have an opportunity, I was at that Eagles Patriots game in Jacksonville, so I had a chance to see Andy Reid in that game. Now, as far as my pick, I've been consistent with this, and I'm going to say it again. I like the 49ers 21-17. And Robbie Gould will be a logistical headache for the Chicago Bears since they let him get away. And Robbie Gould would like nothing better than to be able to get that Super Bowl ring, even if he couldn't do it in the Windy City, which is arguably one of the most difficult places to kick when you're talking about Soldier Field. You ever been to Soldier Field before?
No, I've actually been by Soldier Field, but I never had a chance to actually do that. But just like the winds that swirl there, they swirl at Heinz Field in Pittsburgh. You have two kickers, one in Robbie Gould, who's been almost clutch all season long in making game-winning, kicks, and of course putting them up multiple scores. And of course, no one wants to see a field goal battle, right? 3, 6, 9, 12, all off the toe of someone because your offense just can't get it done. Those are the teams that didn't make it, and and the two teams that did a lot more than just simply kicking the ball off of their foot in order to win the game. This is Rudy Reyes at Take No Punches. Make sure you give us a follow there. Always good conversation, always good stuff. Always enjoy having you on, Scott. Always good stuff. Of course.
So let's talk about the fact that we are teaming up on Media Day. Why don't you elaborate about what you and I your wife are looking to accomplish, since this is a great opportunity for all three of us.
This is a fantastic opportunity, to be quite honest with you. I mean, I started the RudeDogShow.com back in 2014. I've been at this for about 6 years. And being able to attend this, to do this, to be a part of something like this, you can cover the draft. I did. I covered it in 2018 in Arlington, Texas, where the home of the Dallas Cowboys. But it was a little bit, it was different. It was a little painstaking. It wasn't easy, and I don't look for this to be any easier. However, being able to get to this point from a branding standpoint, from a marketing standpoint, from being a one-man band standpoint, has always been something that I've thrived on. So to give everybody an understanding as to what we're going to do, we're going to contact everybody who's there on Media Row. I may be on the radio, also doing some on-air stuff, and then my wife's going to be down there. You're going to be down there interviewing players, talking to players, getting the insight, getting some video, getting some audio, being able to really make an impact on this one-day trip to this media week in Miami, Florida. I've never been to Miami. You live in the luxury land there, so to speak, and it's going to be interesting because
till you get on I-95, tell me what the luxury is.
Well, the luxury is when you finally get to your destination. So we're going to be doing a lot.
It is, and when I take you down I-95, if you don't have any hair, or if you did have it, it would be gray pretty quick, but that's okay.
Yeah, I kind of joined the club of not having any hair, but it is what it is.
About getting gray then, will you?
No.
Add more gray hairs, which I am glad to do with you and your wife.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's okay. I mean, that's just part of the territory. You get the gray hairs when I go to Denver. Then again, you don't get any hairs, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, the hairs kind of came and went. Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. I'll be around the floor. Of course, anybody wants to do some phone interviews on Media Row or whatever the case might be, I'm more than happy to do that as well. I'm sure Scott would be available for that. But yeah, we're going to be there. We're going to try to make an impact here in every single way there in Miami at Hard Rock Stadium for Media Week. So, it's just a matter of being there, kind of soaking in the environment. If you've never been there, if you've never done this before, for anybody who's listening, this would be my first time covering the Super Bowl. But at the same token, these experiences are completely priceless. And for those aspiring broadcasters, those people out there really trying to make a push and to get out there, having something like this underneath your belt and in your repertoire goes a long way. I'm going to try to, and this is something that I just kind of plugged in at the last minute. I want to attend the Combine in Indianapolis, so I applied for that. So let's see how that works out. And for those real Combine buffs who love to go to Combines, and I know at least a dozen or so, they're going to be there as well.
For those of you that are listening to us the first time, I've been in sports media for 41 years. I've covered 2 Super Bowls in Miami, one in Jacksonville, one in Tampa. So Media Row is a really neat experience, and I think that's going to be interesting. And Miami's the home of my first Super Bowl when John Elway defeated Atlanta Falcons. And what better way to start your first Super Bowl than to have John Elway walk out on top? So I think for me, us working together now, this being my 5th time covering the Super Bowl, is really good because, you get to see it on a lot of different levels. And I'm trying to work on maybe another event during the week, depending on how things go with our schedule here at the South Florida Tribune, to do something else. But even my involvement with you should be a lot of fun, too.
And definitely look forward to that experience.
Soak it all in.
Yeah, absolutely. Soak that in, for sure.
See, what you don't know about this experience, you'll get an earful of me calming you down, okay, what you're going to do, because I have PR guys, and I knew that when I got overwhelmed the first time, sat me down aside, just relax, and, they saw when you're overwhelmed, your energy levels, Rudy, is going 500 miles an hour. You'll find it out soon enough.
Oh, I already know. I already know the adrenaline's going to be there. It's the same thing as a draft.
I got news for you. Huh?
The draft is going to be very similar to that because you're moving a mile a minute. You have when those guys were walking into the tent, it was Vita Vea, Lamar Jackson. It was, there's so many guys who just walk in at the last possible moment, but people were just wanting to get all up inside of their grill. Sam Darnold as well as Josh Rosen. Very quick to answer. They had answers for everything. Of course, you have to. I mean, if you're the other franchise quarterback,